Welcome back at 7:46 and you're watching and listening to Breakfast with Olivia and Martin.
Well, join us now to go through some of the other stories making headlines today, or the assistant editor at The Spectator, Cindy Yu, alongside HuffPost UK political editor Kevin Schofield. But first, let's have a look at what's making the front pages this morning.
The Guardian leads with Tory anger over David Cameron's plans to unlock billions of pounds in foreign aid.
And the Daily Mail leads with a prostate cancer breakthrough, reporting that thousands of lives could be saved due to landmark screening.
The Times focuses on comments made by the Health Ombudsman, who says that the toxic NHS puts people at risk.
And the Telegraph has an interview with the Chancellor Jeremy Hunt, in which he says the time at last has come for a tax cut.
And the Daily Mirror leads with concerns from gas bosses that households may struggle to pay their energy bills this winter.
OK, Cindy and Kev, let's get stuck right in. Kev, can we kick off with you? This is something that we're going to be debating later in the show, something that happened yesterday. Was in Bethnal Green in the East End of London. And it's really got people hot under the collar, and that is Palestinian protesters, school kids taken out of class on a march.
Yeah, so there were hundreds of children across the UK. Apparently, it wasn't just London, it was Bristol and Glasgow having these protests yesterday, obviously at Friday, a school day. As you see, lots of children taken out of school by their parents, encouraged to do so, actually, so they could take part in the protest. And obviously this has caused a lot of controversy because kids should be in school. I mean, I know personally, I've got a couple of kids, and I know how difficult it is to get them out of school. I mean, the school is very tough on it. You know, if you need to provide solid evidence that, for instance, if you're taking them to the doctors, you need a signed letter from the doctor confirming that that's why they're leaving school. So I was quite surprised, actually, to see so many kids being taken out of school, because I know that, as I say, schools are really strict on it.
Will there be repercussions for the parents? Because, as you say, I mean, you know, you hear those horror stories of kids not being able to leave their schools for an afternoon for a funeral or whatever, but...
Yeah, well, apparently, so the parents were being told by the organisers, look, it's fine, don't worry, it'll go down as an unauthorised absence, but you don't get into trouble unless you do it on multiple occasions. But, I mean, leaving that to one side, I mean, regardless of what you think of the protest and the political issue, I think taking kids on protest marches, I mean, the kids don't really know what the intricacies of any political debate, not just Palestine and Israel, but anything at all. I think taking kids on a political march, to me, is a little bit difficult for me personally.
And Cindy, this is overtly political because when you look at the movement in Bristol, it's backed by the Stop the War coalition, that's Corbyn's mob, the Green Party were behind it, and the parents involved therein are getting their kids out of school. It is a political thing, and we saw in London yesterday, the mayor of Tower Hamlets was out on the street with the children. It sends out a message, I believe, that politicising children for causes that suit you is now becoming a new trend. Do you think that's a good thing or a dangerous thing?
Well, I totally agree with Kevin on this. I think it's deeply concerning because, you know, we're talking about 11, 12-year-olds. You know, what do they know about politics and history? And let alone the Israel-Palestine problem, which is one of the most intractable in our modern day and age. Loads of adults don't know the intricacies of the history there either. So the fact that there are these kids going out there chanting things like Israel is a terrorist state, you know, regardless of what political campaign you're doing. I mean, I felt the same over the climate change protests when kids were going out there, like Greta Thunberg. You know, it's they're not well informed enough, and they're not. For me, it's a question of autonomy. You know, if you don't think that under 18s should be able to smoke or should be able to make the decision of getting married or do all sorts of adult decisions because they're not developed enough to have that autonomy, to have that responsibility. Same for political actions like this, I think. So I do think it's deeply concerning, and I would say that regardless of what the campaign was, who was involved, or anything like that, I just don't think it's... I also don't think it's a good look.
No.
Why would you want these 12-year-olds to be screaming? I mean, clearly they haven't thought it through.
Absolutely. I mean, do you think that Greta Thunberg and her sort of group opened a bit of a can of worms here? Because, you know, her marches, her protests were celebrated by politicians, celebrated by the UN, etc. And it's given a message to children and teenagers and their parents that, you know, activist children is a good thing. And as you say, there are a lot of problems with that.
Yeah, I think it may have done in the modern West, but, you know, Olivia, when I do my work as a spectator, I often look at China, and when you look back to the Cultural Revolution, for example, the Red Guards were all kids as well. You know, we look back to the Hitler Youth, for example. Yeah, exactly. So I think this idea of kids being easily influenced, impressionable, of course they are, they're young, is, you know, it's age old, and it's a worrying sign of a political movement that feels like it needs that.
And Kev, a lot of people have reacted to this story online very strongly, saying this is overt brainwashing. Children are being fed this stuff. And let's remember, none of these kids marched when Hamas invaded Israel. None of the kids marched for Brexit. What I'm saying is, it's a very...
were the men in pro-Brexit marches? I can't remember.
What I'm trying to say is, it seems to be of a particular liberal, left-wing mindset every single time. And in this instance, it is backing up those marches where people have been saying things about Hitler, about killing the Jews, dressing as Hamas terrorists. It's dovetailing into something which people are already thinking is unacceptable, but with the use of children, it feels doubly bad.
Yeah, no, I think, as I say, regardless, I think, of what the political campaign is, what they're marching for, you're right, young kids are impressionable. You know what you're like at that age. If your parents said something and you were maybe 7 or 8, you would just believe them. You would just swallow exactly what they told, and you would do as you were told, by and large. So it's not as if these kids have thought long and hard about this debate and have decided that they're going to, you know, be on that side of the debate. So, so yeah, as I say, it just makes me feel a little bit queasy when you see young kids, as you say, marching and shouting slogans that they really, let's be honest, don't really understand it.
I think there's an issue with child safety as well. I mean, I've been reporting on these Palestinian marches, and, you know, fireworks have been let off. It doesn't seem the right environment to have small children around.
And I think one other thing is, as well, is, you know, these kids will have lost a lot of their education during the pandemic when their schools were shut for months at a time. The last thing they need is to be taken out of school when they should be there, you know, because ultimately, you know, long term, it doesn't do them any good not to be in school and getting a proper education.
OK, look, I mean, let us know what you think out there. This is something... I put this out on social media last night that we were covering the show. Hundreds and hundreds of you have been commenting on this, but I want to get a shout-out to you out there, gbviews@gbnews.com. Let us know what you think. Is it acceptable to use children on marches like this? Is it free speech? Is that what children should be allowed to do? Or should we be keeping the politics out of the classroom? And furthermore, does it suggest to you that the certain cultures are coming out against other cultures? We're seeing a rocketing of anti-Semitism in London, and I wonder if we should be getting children at all, Olivia, involved in something which is already quite toxic.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I just think that the environment when I was there, I mean, I didn't feel that safe, and if I had small children, I definitely wouldn't want them to be there. I mean, as we've all said, no matter what the march is about, it's just that the environment of a march doesn't seem suitable.
And I wonder what it says to those Jewish school children who are presently too afraid to wear their blazers to go to school. We've seen Jewish schools vandalise in London. We have children scared to show their uniform or the fact they're Jewish. And I just wonder if supporting the pro-Palestine kids sends out a message that the Jewish kids just aren't important. I think it's something that's deeply concerning. Anyway, Cindy and Kev, thank you very much. Superb. We'll see you again in the next hour. Now, as we approach the top of the hour, we have much, much more to come this morning. But first, let's take a quick look at the weather. It looks a bit damp out there.